At 89, Woody Allen has finally broken a silence that has stretched across decades, but not through press releases or public statements. Instead, his words have come out quietly, in private conversations that only recently surfaced. Those close to him say he was utterly shocked and devastated by her sudden passing, a loss so abrupt that it left him reeling. Throughout their lives, they had endured pressures both public and private, matters of privacy, controversial choices, and immense societal scrutiny. Their connection spanned 56 years, during which they worked together on 9 films. She was more than just a muse. She was his unwavering protector, the one who never truly abandoned him. In the aftermath of her death, Allen has revealed aspects of their life together that no one had known, appending the familiar narrative the public held about them. This story is not a conventional tale of a director and his actress. It is a story of obsession, loyalty, and truths that neither may have been ready to confront. A tale of a love so intricate and interwoven that it could not survive as romance, but refused to dissolve entirely. During sleepless nights, when the phone rang at 4 in the morning, carrying threats and fear so vivid it seemed alive, Allen felt the gravity of it all. For decades, observers had only seen their relationship filtered through the glossy lens of Annie Hall, his romantic comedies, and the carefully curated public persona. But the reality was far more layered, painful, and deeply human than any story he ever put on screen. She remained by his side when the world turned against him, defending him at personal cost. Now, facing his own mortality, Allen finally tells the story of the woman who saved him, the love he could not retain, and the regrets that still haunt him. In 1969, while casting his Broadway play Played Again, Sam, Allen saw countless actresses, talented, beautiful, yet forgettable. Then Diane Keaton entered the room. At 23, fresh from California, she appeared in mismatched clothes and spoke in a rhythm that seemed illogical yet strangely heartfelt. Allen would later describe her as adorable, funny, original, and vibrantly alive. Privately, friends now disclose, he felt a deep fear because she embodied all the qualities he lacked: light where he carried darkness, hope where he harbored cynicism, and freedom where he was trapped in his own thoughts. He cast her immediately, drawn not only to the role she fit so perfectly, but also to the dread of never seeing her again. Within weeks, they began dating, and within months, she moved into his apartment. Friends were skeptical, predicting they would last no longer than 6 months. Allen, the neurotic Jewish intellectual from Brooklyn, dissected every nuance of life, while Diane, a genuine California girl, lived fully in the present. He hoarded anxieties. She collected moments of joy. Yet somehow, improbably, it worked, at least temporarily. From 1969 to 1971, these were some of the happiest years of Allen's life. Decades later, he confided to friends that with Diane, he finally felt seen, not as Woody Allen, the comedian or filmmaker, but as Allen Koigberg, the shy Brooklyn boy who had always felt inadequate. Her attention made him feel, if only for fleeting moments, that he might indeed be okay. Their long walks through Central Park, her fascination with clouds, dogs, and children at play amazed him. She revealed that happiness could exist without analysis, without understanding, without reason, something he never fully absorbed. Living together, however, exposed their differences. Allen became controlling under the guise of love, seeking to refine her into an intellectual equal, more like the women in his films. Diane resisted quietly, never with anger, simply asserting herself in subtle ways, mispronouncing words she had been corrected on, choosing magazines over books, wearing what she wished. Her defiance only deepened Allen's affection. She was the one person he could not mold or direct, and that made her irresistible and dangerous. Friends recall conversations that were less fights and more analytical dissections, where he would scrutinize her every thought, every choice, while she calmly reminded him, "You think too much," a phrase that left him simultaneously infuriated and enlightened. The decisive rupture came in 1971, when Diane secured an audition for Kay Corleone in The Godfather. Initially hesitant, she defied Allen's advice and followed her instincts. She obtained the role without reading the script, later claiming she merely needed employment. Yet those who knew them understood it was more than work. She needed escape. When she informed Alan she would be in California for months, missing his upcoming film, he reacted with a cold, stunned silence. "You're choosing Coppola over me," he said eventually. "You're choosing them over us." Diane tried to explain, emphasizing her career and independence, but Alan interpreted it as betrayal. On set, Diane formed an undeniable chemistry with Al Pacino, a man alive in ways Alan never was, physical, emotional, raw. Alan obsessively followed every report, desperate to piece together what was happening thousands of miles away. Upon Diane's return to New York, she had changed. Confident, self-assured, no longer deferring to him. She was a star in her own right, and the relationship could not survive. Their partnership ended in 1972. Some say Alan ended it, others insist Diane walked away. Regardless, she was exhausted from being analyzed, corrected, and molded, longing to be loved for herself rather than as an idealized figure. Alan, for his part, loved the idea of her more than the woman she truly was. Yet their professional connection endured. In 1977, Alan cast Diane as the lead in Annie Hall, a film that drew heavily on their real-life experiences. Every argument, awkward pause, and detail, including her nickname Annie Hall and the actual clothes she wore while dating him, were preserved in the film. Critics called it both genius and exploitation. Diane described the process as strange and painful, but she trusted Alan and perhaps hoped to preserve their bond through art. Annie Hall earned Best Picture, and Diane Keaton took home Best Actress. However, the film represented a curated truth, a fantasy version of reality. Their breakup had been messy, unresolved, and raw. The movie transformed heartbreak into something poetic. Alan later admitted to friends that it was an exorcism, an attempt to release her from his mind, though love, once alive, never completely disappears. From 1978 to 2020, Diane appeared in 8 additional Alan films over a span of 42 years. They collaborated with emotional distance, maintaining a working relationship that should have crumbled yet endured. Diane could pursue other loves, yet on set, she remained Alan's. He often remarked that every actress he worked with was compared to Diane, none achieving the luminous spark she brought to his words. This ongoing connection strained Diane's personal relationships, notably with Al Pacino, whose intermittent romance with her lasted from 1974 to 1990. Though Alan had no claim on her love, he remained an invisible presence. Pacino sought total commitment, yet Diane could not comply, partly because a fragment of her heart still belonged to Woody. By 2024, Diane's health began quietly declining. She withdrew from public appearances and projects without fanfare. On October 11, 2025, she passed away suddenly at 79 in her Brentwood home. Alan reportedly received the news in stunned silence, whispering that he had been unaware of her illness. The funeral was intimate. Alan, bent with age, carried a framed black-and-white photograph from Play It Again, Sam, capturing both of them laughing, a rare moment of unfiltered joy. Meryl Streep later described seeing him break down, sobbing uncontrollably, a vulnerability rarely witnessed. Days after, a letter Alan had written surfaced, a confession too late for her to read. Shortly thereafter, he began speaking privately with old friends, finally confronting the truths he had kept hidden for decades. He admitted to being controlling, loving the concept of her more than the person she truly was, acknowledging that Diane had been right to leave. Reflecting on Annie Hall, Alan admitted that while he gave her an Oscar, she had given him the essence of his art, his credibility, his creative spirit, and the soul of his work. He loved other women differently, but Diane had been the most authentic love, seeing the frightened, insecure man beneath the public persona and staying until he drove her away. At 89, Alan repeatedly utters, "I should have just let her be," acknowledging that he should have loved her as she was, rather than as he imagined her. Regarding her steadfast defense during the controversies, he emphasizes that she acted not out of obligation, but from loyalty and conviction. Her nature was to stand by those she believed in, regardless of cost. Their final conversation months before her death summed up everything. Diane assured him she held no regrets for the relationship, the films, or defending him. She accepted them both as they were. Looking back over 56 years and 9 films, Alan wants the world to understand that Diane was right about everything. Life, art, simplicity. Annie Hall was not the literal truth, but his idealized fantasy. Diane herself was a more remarkable person than any character he ever created. She saved him more than he ever saved her. Their story defies categorization, neither romance nor mere friendship. It was a deeply human and flawed connection. She was his muse, conscience, and defender, slipping away when he could not hold on. He was her mentor and tormentor, never fully released from her memory. She never married, never found another lasting love, yet remained loyal to him, who, despite countless relationships, never moved on from the California girl who saw through all his defenses. Their relationship was too messy to fit neatly into romance, too intimate to be friendship, too unresolved to belong to the past, and too painful to live fully in the present. It existed in a space only they could comprehend. Now, as Woody Allen grows older, alone with his memories and regrets, the woman who shaped his art, his identity, and his soul is gone, leaving behind her films and the echo of a once extraordinary partnership. Diane Keaton's legacy is not solely her awards, her style, or her iconic roles. It lies in her unwavering presence, in providing the heart of Allen's work, in standing by him when no one else dared, and in demonstrating the rare miracle of being loved exactly as one is. Some loves are too intricate to endure, yet too potent to ever truly end. Their story proves that, a testament that will outlive them both, etched into film memory, and the legacy of two lives intertwined in ways the world can only begin to understand.